Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I am here at in Xi'an at the site of the Terracotta Army, and I thought I'd do a video here since this is kind of an interesting cultural site here in China. I'm looking at the original soldiers that were buried. This was actually during the Qin dynasty. The first emperor of the Qin dynasty had basically buried soldiers about 1.5 kilometers away from his tomb, and they had found these soldiers. Actually, a local farmer had found pieces of them, and then they found that there's about 8,000 soldiers here. They actually didn't excavate his tomb yet because there's a lot of mercury in there, so they're trying to figure out a way to deal with that. But I thought this was interesting. One thing that I thought was really interesting about this is the idea that they basically, there's a lot, if you look behind me here, you can see, actually I'll give you a little bit of a view here so you can see, and what you're looking at here, you can see the soldiers obviously there, but see this spot here, this spot is where they haven't actually excavated yet. And the reason for this is quite interesting. I thought this would be a pretty good topic for a video, is because right now they do not have a way to preserve the color. So these terracotta soldiers were basically painted, right? And they were painted using dyes at the time, which would have been plant dyes. And the thing with that is that within 3 or 4 days, when they excavate these soldiers, that color disappears. So the Chinese government is trying to figure out a way, waiting till they have the technology to be able to excavate the remaining soldiers here and to be able to keep the original color. So I thought this was interesting because I also visited the Ming tombs in Beijing area, and they had only opened up one of the Ming tombs. They were waiting to open up the other one. Same thing with this the Qin tomb here. So it's interesting because it seems like in China, a lot of what they do, a lot of what they think about is long-term thinking, right? So thinking about maybe several hundred years down the road, what's going to happen and what are they going to do. So I thought that's sometimes we tend to be very short-term thinkers, right? And so if you can sort of expand your horizons, right, and think in the long term, maybe in the short term it'll cost you, right? And I talk about this a lot in investing and making sacrifices and having self-discipline. It's all about doing things in the long term. But I think eventually China has a very good shot at becoming the major world power. Even dethroning the U.S. in that position because of their long-term thinking. We tend to be very short-term right now. Hopefully that shifts. This is a good lesson, is to remember to think in the long term, right? They're thinking maybe several hundred years, and it probably comes from their history and their culture, right? Being a culture, a civilization that's been around for several thousand years, one of the oldest civilizations, perhaps the oldest civilization, if India is in one, either China or India. But being around for so long, a lot of their thinking is long term. So something just to think about is how you can think more long term, especially if you're early in your career and you're in your 20s or even younger. Think about how to set yourself up to have the best 30s, where you're going to spend a lot of your life. So anyway, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.